Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is James Salvatore, and today I have something very special here for you. Now this is the 991 911 Speedster, a very limited production rare model of the 911. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the history behind the Speedster, as well as go over some of the things that make this 911 stick out from the rest of the pack. However, before we get into the video, be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to be alerted when I post future videos. On the channel, I do everything from new car reviews, new car comparisons, exotic cars, as you can see, and plenty more. I like to have fun, so be sure to stick around. And with that, roll the cinematic clips. If you don't follow Porsche, or you don't really know much about the history of the brand and you just follow some of the newer vehicles, I think for you to fully understand how significant this car is, it's important that I talk to you a little bit about the history of it first. Everything began in the early 1950s when Max Hoffman, the American importer of Porsches, suggested to Ferry Porsche to build a 911 that was a little bit cheaper, maybe a little bit more stripped down, to cater to a different market, the market that just wanted to drive these cars on a nice day, and be able to take it to the track occasionally. A less expensive alternative to the normal 911, which was thought to be expensive at the time. And what they came up with for the 1954 model year was the 356 Speedster. It was a little bit different, a little bit lighter. A few features were missing from the normal car. The thing was, the windshield was brought back a little bit. And let's put it this way. The convertible top was more of an afterthought. The car was basically made to have the top down pretty much at all times, just as every Speedster after it. Now, it wouldn't be until 1988 until we saw the reappearance of the Speedster nameplate once again. It was brought back at basically the end of the G911 era, and there was only 2,103 of these cars built. Now, that's actually a fairly high number. I mean, there hasn't been any other Speedster generation with a production number that high since then. And then the Speedster reappeared in 1992 with the 964 generation of the 911, with only 930 of them being produced. This time, definitely a much lower level production number. I'm sure they learned from the other one that, when you don't have these cars as rare, they're not worth as much. And then the Speedster was once again brought back in 1995, just in a super limited production run of only 2 units. One of them was made for Ferdinand Alexander Porsche himself, and then the other was made for Jerry Seinfeld, out of all people. Very interesting that he got one of those, but as you can imagine, those cars definitely have to be worth a lot of money now at this point. And from 1995, you wouldn't see the Speedster nameplate brought back again until 2010, almost 15 full years later, with the 997 generation of the 911. And this time, only 356 units were produced. And my guess behind that is simply to commemorate the first car, the 356 Speedster. And that brings us to 2019's 991 Speedster model. Now, this was based off of a GT3 model and basically is a little bit reworked. Think of this as a convertible GT3 with a manual transmission. It's basically the one that everybody wanted, but Porsche didn't produce just because it wasn't practical. It wasn't the fastest, it wasn't the most efficient. However, that's not what this car is about. This car is about the emotion you experience when you drive something that's, open-aired, a little bit more connected to the road. Not necessarily the fastest, although this thing is no slouch by any means. This is an ultra high performance car. However, it just doesn't have that edge that the normal GT3 has. But you don't really care because this car is special. Each one of these things is special. There are so many things that you could customize with these cars. It's really unreal, because you could pretty much customize everything on these Speedsters, right down to the headlight washers being body color or different colors. You can have the steering column in leather. You can have carbon fiber floor mats like this car has. There is pretty much no end to the amount of customization you could do to this car, unless you went for the Heritage model. Now, the Heritage model didn't let you customize as much because it was Porsche's vision for what this Speedster generation should be. However, if you were to go for it, this one isn't one, but it would be a metallic silver, and it would feature decals all over the car commemorating the first one. And you would see 48 on the hood, or you can have your own custom number put on it, which is pretty cool. And they paint the front bumper in white, and the white strip comes all the way up here. I just think that's really cool. As you can see from what I told you, the Speedster name when it comes to 911s is very, very significant. There's a long history behind it, and this car only adds to it with its legendary performance and with how unique it is. I mean, with how many different ways you can customize these cars, and no doubt the way that people have spec'd them. Each one of these things is almost like its own one-of-one car, because it's very rare, unless you're getting a Heritage model, which kind of everything's pre-customized for you, that you will find more than 2 or 3 of these things customized the exact same way. When it comes to performance, the Speedster features a naturally aspirated 4-liter Boxer 6 engine. It produces 502 horsepower and 346 foot-pounds of torque and revs to an impressive 9,000 RPM. Now, this is all mated to a 6-speed manual transmission, and that makes this car good for a top speed of 192 miles an hour with a 0 to 60 of 3.8 seconds. One of the things I noticed right off the bat were the extremely large carbon ceramics that come standard on this car. In the front, you'll get 410 millimeter carbon ceramic rotors with 6 piston calipers. Now, that's some serious braking power. In the rear, you get 390 millimeter rotors and 4 piston calipers. As you can see, the Speedster is a very special car, and owning one of these is a true privilege. From the 50s until now, this has been one of the most exclusive 911s you could possibly own, and this one's no exception. This will definitely make for a nice car to have in your collection, especially if you collect 911s. With that said, this may be one of your last chances to own this piece of history right here. And as it sits, it only has 20 miles on it, and it's located at Porsche of Fairfield, Connecticut. And if you're interested in this particular car, I'm going to include a link in my description below with the website and the phone number, so that if you have any questions on this car, you can feel free to look for yourself or call them. Well, that wraps up today's video. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to smash that like button, and be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to be alerted when I post future videos. If you're a Porsche fan, I have new content coming out every week covering another model, so stick around if you're into that. And with that, thank you for watching. I'll see you next video.